So then we are back with more understandings from the time of the Second Tabernacle services, where we find the Aramaic English translation of the word. This translation comes from the original manuscripts of the prophets of the Tzayelic lineage. So then we can understand the time of the end as per Yeshayahu the prophet. We find layers of understanding of the spring feast, the autumn feast, and also the returning of the cities of the Messiah laid waste for many centuries. As we read then from Yeshayahu the prophet, we find that these layers extremely important because those who are involved with the work of what the Messiah has said, they are always subjected to some sort of a consequences of this world. It came out very shortly, an email from a great friend in the United States. He had an episode in his health today, but he must recuperate, and there is some sort of a surgery scheduled for Wednesday, and let our prayers then be with him. He's a soldier, he was a Marine, and he's very straightforward, and it's very important to him to recuperate himself and back on duty. And while he is then resting for a bit during this time, we take on then the responsibility of furthering on the work of the Messiah. Understandably, as we read what the Messiah did, also he had the resistance of the world upon himself, and that's why we should obviously read what the Messiah has said, so then we can become fruitful during these times where then the world is so against us. And then, as we read, the Messiah himself many times, he was speaking with the leaders of the law, and he was sometimes very angry at them, because there is a section in the completion of the spring feast where the Messiah then was teaching the people, and then he explains, as then the people of the law and the scribes, they sit on Moses' seat. Then the Messiah was explaining the objective of this people of the law was then to give the understanding of the instructions and encouraging the people to maintain the path. But then the Messiah was angry because these people would only speak, but they would not help them to maintain themselves obedient. As we understand during these very troublesome times, what then the Messiah is in a very specific way explaining. The Messiah firstly is explaining of tabernacling. But as we understand, as these times and the seasons are complicated, what are then the instructions of the Word related with the sons of Ishmael and the sons of Yitzhak? As we understand from the Holy Instructions and from the Bible, most often we have the understanding of tabernacling, and a great majority, not even this much, they have in their understandings. But as then a whole, as far as the Holy Instructions are concerned, we should understand as Ibrahim or Avraham, he had a couple of sons, and the first son Ishmael as important as the second son, because each of the sons had a half of the anointing. So then Ishmael was then a king. He was a king of trade. So then based from this king of trade, every firm, every company of trade traces back from Ishmael as far as his work. We understand the Chinese, they were already in the market in the world for a long time prior of Ishmael, understandably. But if we then try to understand a creator of the heavens and the earth, the true creator, because there is only one creator, and as we want to understand this holy creator, we have then a couple of situations. The first is then trade. The second is tabernacling. The Messiah then is explaining areas of tabernacling. This is what most often we understand. And those people who are then recuperating themselves, such as Michael that has done a great work, then there is a completion of tabernacling and a completion of trade. That's why then when we read Revelation, we understand those ships. We understand what they mean from the lineage of Ishmael. So then, since the broader understanding of the instructions, they go beyond what we always imagined as far as being limited to a church or congregation. We read then from Revelation then the Dragonic period. The Dragonic period is not evil. So many people, they think, the dragon is evil, and then he's not evil. He simply means precision. During this time of the restoration of the holy cities, there is a change going on in a worldwide way of doing trade. As Daniel the prophet, he was a person, he was the minister of finances under many kings. So he was very much aware of with the trade of the time, and Daniel was aware of Ishmael. He knew the Ishmaelites were very strong on the land, and he had contact with them. So then the world as it is changing from the 1,000 years of deceit, and we are then experiencing the returning of the holy cities, so must we understand the birthplace of the trade, starting with Ishmael. So then we understand Ibrahim or Abraham was a friend of the Creator. So then, the Messiah is explaining then sections of himself. He's explaining himself as the completion of the instructions. So then in every congregation, in every church, in every group, the Messiah must be always mentioned. So then the conversation has fruit. Because the Messiah has said, if we don't abide in Him, we can't produce fruit. It doesn't pay for us then to understand the Torah if we don't understand the Messiah. The Messiah comes first. As we understand who the Messiah is, then we trace back where the instructions are at, and the Messiah then retrieves us and he completes at the same time. So then it is imperative, as we learn then Revelation. What can we learn of Revelation and where we are heading towards? There are the first, second, and third dynamics involved with these revelations. The revelations of Yohanan, known as John, as he was then in the first holy city on the land of Cush, as precisely as the prophet has pointed out. The problem is we tend to have a Greco-Roman mind, and we believe their lies, and understanding where does the prophet mention regarding Yohanan being on the island. The prophet points out to a holy city on the land of Cush, as per the year Yeshayahu chapter 1:8. He's explaining then those people who are involved with tabernacling being in the tabernacling while receiving revelations. So the dynamics of Revelation then explains of then the Ishmaelites, explains then Christianity, and explains of Judaism mixed up together. We have these dynamics going on, but we do understand from Daniel reveals the flows of information coming from China. Kingdom of the North then should be the Soviet Union. Kingdom of the East is China. Kingdom of the South is Africa. Based from these, we understand the flow of events linked with revelation from the prophecies and the reflections thereof. We are not speaking of the prophecies themselves or the substance of the prophets. We understand as reflections. We have then the prophecies themselves already taking place a long time ago, before then the holy cities were destroyed. A section or the substance of the prophecies were then completed. Because of the 1,000 years of deceit, and because then we are during the time of the restoration period, then we must understand the reflections of the prophecies. So then continues on, because the Torah or the instructions gives us then the prophetic shadow events. So these dynamics then in Revelation plays a crucial role as we understand the spiritual side in Revelation, and we then read the physical understandings in Daniel. And then later on we must subdivide these, so then we understand the flow of events of the spiritual side of Revelation placed on Daniel the 11th chapter. So there is a layer from there you have to be brought then to Daniel. Later on I'm going to explain these dynamics, so then we also have the understanding of these working and dynamicing amongst themselves. So please stay tuned, much more coming up.